Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. It is World Building Tuesday, so I'm going to talk about my world in my novel Wild River. So Wild River happens in a post-war narrative. There's just been this big war that has happened in this world, and it's actually meant to be similar to the American Civil War. The politics are different and the contributing factors are different, but it happens in a similar time period, and some of the contributing factors are very similar. And the war is actually called the Slave War in my book. So, and I chose to do that because I had actually just, when I started writing Wild River, I had just finished writing a nonfiction book about Joseph Smith's prophecies of the American Civil War, where he prophesied in 1831 that, or 1832, that the American Civil War would break out, and gave some details that turned out to be correct in 1861. But anyway, so this, I had just written that book, and so I had all that fresh in my mind, and so I wanted to do to build a story around that, around those ideas. So I want to talk a little bit about what it's like to make a post-war story, and how and what that does to the narrative, what it does to the characters and the world. For example, you see, Wild River, it starts just a few years after the slave war ended, and one thing about that is that the people from all these different backgrounds, they're united in the sense of shared trauma. There's nothing that unites people like a common enemy or shared trauma. And so you have these people that have come, and Wild River is a very diverse place, with people coming from many different nations, and they have all these different backgrounds, but they have this one thing in common, and that is their experience in the slave war, either as soldiers or as people who saw the destruction that happened and what it did to society. And so there's a connection there that's created among people who maybe are very different and don't know each other. Also, there's also the fact that because this war was such an important war, because it was such a big war, it has changed the world. The world has gone through this very significant change. Society has changed, the economy has changed, culture has changed, and these are all things that have been developed anew. These are new things. So all these characters have this sense of living in a new age and coming to grips with that. They still believe in various traditions and cultural values and things, but they all kind of feel the sense of unease because they're in this new world that has been created around them because of the war. Also, there are certain prejudices still, despite this sense of unity, there are certain prejudices that exist as a result of the war. For one thing, there are the people who fought on different sides of the war, and so there's some enmity about that. But also, in the war, the slaves were freed. And so there is this sense, for many people, there's a sense of prejudice toward former slaves. They're still seen by many people as being less than human, or a lower tier of human. And so, in fact, the main character, Bandas Riverman, he is a former slave, and he has to deal with that. And there are also like certain aspects of slavery that remain. In the American Civil War, not only did we do away with slavery, but we did away with things proximal to slavery, like peonage, indentured servitude. But in this world, that is not the case. They did away with direct chattel slavery, but they did not do away with things like indentured servitude. So there is still indentured servitude. People can basically sign a contract, like very poor people who are very needy, they may sign a contract to basically become slaves for a decade. And during that period, they have almost no rights, and they can't get out of it. And that's something that still happens in this world, and it hasn't quite been ended by slavery, but people still have this sense, because slavery was ended, people still have this sense that, this thing probably shouldn't exist. So there's still a struggle against that. Also, people's religious beliefs have been tested because of this sense of shared trauma, where people have had to face some of the most terrible aspects of human life, of humanity, and everyone has had to face it. People have really, this has been really testing for their religious beliefs. People are faced with the questions like, if God exists, how can such terrible things happen in the world? And some people saw their faith become weaker as a result of the war, but other people saw their faith become stronger as a result of the war. And so we see that. And also, I kind of said this already, but the war has created a new order. The old power structures have been tested. They have been either destroyed or weakened, and this new power structure is emerging. New rich people, new classes, all kinds of new things. And again, this is a new territory for basically everyone, and people don't really know what to expect. So everything is in turmoil. And that is the environment in which the story of Wild River happens. So tomorrow I'm going to talk a little bit about my main character, Bondus Riverman, and how the role that he plays in this new world that has been created in Wild River, and what that means for other people around him, and a little bit also about how he'll develop as a character. So yeah, be watching out for that, because I'll be posting that tomorrow. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. This is the journey of the independent novelist. Come with me on this journey. Let's go through this together. I want to show everyone that this can be done, that you can make a living as an independent novelist. Takes a little time, takes a little doing, but it can be done. So subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.